Now is Leon Panetta, former CIA director and Secretary of Defense in the Obama administration, but former White House chief of staff for President Clinton. And it's that context that I wanted to ask you about. How does a White House chief of staff not work with the President of the United States to explain that you don't go out and make false charges, unsubstantiated charges, I should say, with no evidence at all of fraud that undermines the very democracy here in America?
It's difficult for me to understand why they were not able to hold the president back from making the accusations that he did, because it only undermines his presidency when he challenges the most important pillar in our democracy, which is the right of the American people to vote. This is a moment when, frankly, I think all of us need to be very proud of the American people. We've had a record turnout. Republicans and Democrats voted in huge numbers. And now the vote count is being completed. This is a tribute to the fact that the American people still have tremendous trust in their ability to determine who will lead this country in the future. And I think the president should have recognized that, be patient, allow the votes to be counted, and in the end, ultimately accept what that final vote count is all about.
U.S. intelligence agencies were so concerned about Russia and Iran and misinformation. And now, according to our reporting, Ken Dilanian from our team, the Russian media are simply picking up what the president has said, and which is based on a lot of false and misleading information, and broadcasting it back around the world and into the United States. So they are spreading basically the president's comments as propaganda against us.
Yeah, and that's no surprise. The Russians are basically interested in one thing, which is to undermine the United States of America in any way they can. They're our adversary, they're our enemy, and they're going to continue to try to spread false information about the United States. I think the key is that the American people, we know who we are. We know what we've been able to do for 240 years. And I think there's tremendous faith in our institutions and our ability to survive as a democracy. And that's what's important. Look, America always makes the decisions, whether it's in politics or whether it's in sports. You fight like hell to try to be able to achieve a win. The president certainly fought strongly. I think Joe Biden fought strongly. But in the end, it is the final scoreboard that determines who the winner is. And whether you're Tom Brady or whether you're Tiger Woods or whether you're the New York Yankees, you've put up a good fight. But in the end, it's that final scoreboard that determines who the winner is. And we accept that. The winner embraces victory. The loser accepts defeat, and we move on. And I think that's going to happen with this vote.
Now, that we are reporting, NBC News is reporting also that Defense Secretary Mark Esper has written a letter of resignation, not a pro forma letter that often are written during transitions, but written a letter of resignation. But at the same time, is helping members of Congress draft legislation that he knows the president does not want, to strip the names of Confederate leaders from military bases.
Yeah, no, I give a lot of credit to Secretary Esper. It's not easy to take the right steps, particularly with this president. But he has taken the right steps here. We know what needs to be done. I regret that he is resigning because ultimately he ought to be able to walk out like everybody else in this administration with some degree of dignity. But I understand. And I'm also confident, very frankly, that the United States military is going to be fully committed to supporting the Constitution and our process of voting, and that they're not going to be politicized at this difficult moment. So my hope is that our military, our law enforcement, and the American people are able to be patient in these next few hours and ultimately accept what the final vote count will show.
Leon Panetta, thank you very much. Thanks, and it's very good to see you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.